Around 400 years ago, a group of English Puritans escaped religious persecution and crossed the ocean to start new lives in northeastern America. They named this land New England. Among them was Thomason's family, who also came from England. They hoped for a better future, but because of differences in beliefs, they were driven out of their community. Thomason's father was a proud, deeply religious Puritan who openly criticized the local church. In the courtroom, he boldly argued against the federal court and the church. Because of this, the family was forced to leave the plantation and move into a remote wilderness. After praying earnestly to God, the family of 6 settled near a forest. They soon built a small house, planted corn, and raised some chickens and sheep. Later, the mother gave birth to another baby boy. Life was hard, and their living conditions were poor, but they managed to survive. Thomason, the eldest daughter, loved the little baby very much. She worked the hardest in the family and also helped care for him. One day, she was playing peekaboo with her baby brother, who was wrapped in swaddling clothes. But the moment she covered her face, the baby vanished. Thomason ran frantically into the forest, calling his name, but there was no sound. As night fell, hope of finding him grew dim. Deep in the forest, an old woman with wrinkled skin performed a dark ritual. She had stolen the baby and used his blood in her magic, smearing it on herself as if to regain her youth. Days passed, and the baby was never found. Whether he was taken by wild animals or starved, his fate was sealed. The mother wept every day, and Thomason blamed herself, tormented by nightmares. But life had to go on, and the family had no choice but to endure. One morning, the eldest son woke up early and saw Thomason restless in her sleep. As he moved closer to wake her, his eyes paused on her chest. He had reached the age where desire began to stir. Feeling guilty, he left and went to meet his father in the cornfield. As the head of the family, the father couldn't spend his days grieving. Their grain harvest was poor, and feeding the living was more important now. He told his son they would go hunting in the forest. The forest was always dark and eerie, a place their mother had strictly forbidden them to enter. Along the way, the father revealed he had secretly set traps there. He said if they caught something this time, the mother wouldn't complain. They both carried guns and walked deeper into the forest, their conversation still revolving around God. The father reminded his son that people are born sinful, and to earn salvation, they must stay faithful. Although the boy had memorized the Bible, he didn't understand why even a baby would have sins. Surely an infant had done no wrong. The father avoided the question, insisting they trust God and believe the baby was in heaven. On the way back, the boy asked where the trap came from. The father reluctantly admitted he had traded the mother's silver cup to get it. He said it was necessary to prepare for winter and asked his son to keep it secret. As they returned, their dog suddenly spotted a wild rabbit. The rabbit stared at them strangely, unafraid. The father quickly raised his gun, but misfired unexpectedly. Back at the farm, the mother was still consumed by grief, while Thomason managed the chores. In the chicken coop, she found a broken egg with a dead, undeveloped chick inside. Suddenly, the family's black goat escaped. The mischievous twins were the cause. They had named the goat and were singing strange songs as they played with it. Thomason was growing frustrated with her mischievous younger siblings. Just then, her father and eldest brother returned from the forest. The father struggled to get the black goat back into the pen, while the mother, having not seen them for half the day, grew suspicious. The eldest son quickly lied to protect his father, saying they had gone to look for apple trees instead. Apples were a special fruit from their homeland, and he claimed he wanted to surprise their mother, but it turned out there were none. The mother didn't press further, but still reminded everyone, especially after losing the baby, that no child should leave the farm. Later, Thomason went to the river to wash clothes, and her brother followed. Even though he had started feeling confusing desires, their bond as siblings was still close. Thomason, unaware of his inner guilt, hugged him to cheer him up. As they played near the river, sudden rustling in the bushes startled them. It was the twins again, up to no good. The little sister was riding a broomstick, pretending to be a forest witch. Their constant mischief angered Thomasin. She already carried the heaviest load of work, while these two lazed around all day, and their mother never scolded them. Losing her patience, Thomasin's face turned serious. She told them she was the real witch and threatened to roast and eat them if they didn't start behaving. Her fierce look scared the little sister. Thomasin even warned that if they told their mother about this, she would curse them immediately. Frightened, the little girl finally became quiet. At dinner, the mother suddenly brought up the missing silver cup, once again blaming Thomasin. Ever since the baby disappeared, the mother seemed to hold a grudge against her. No matter how much Thomasin denied it, the mother kept pressing her. We know the father was the one who traded it away, but too ashamed to admit the truth, he only stepped in with a Bible verse to end the argument. That night, the father whispered to his wife. He tried to comfort her, saying their pain was a test from God and they should keep their faith. But this only angered her more. She had started to question God, wondering if they were cursed. She even whispered that their eldest daughter was old enough to be married off, and perhaps they should sell her for winter supplies. The father didn't agree at first, but after hearing her complaints about their desperate situation, he reluctantly gave in. They decided to take Thomasin to town the next day. What they didn't know was that the 4 children were still awake and overheard every word. The eldest son didn't want his sister to be sold. Before dawn, he decided to slip into the forest to find food, hoping to help the family. Thomasin caught him leaving and insisted on joining, worried it was too dangerous for him alone. They reached the trap area and, to their relief, caught a rabbit. Excited, they headed home with hopeful spirits, talking about their old life in England with longing in their voices. But on their way back, another rabbit appeared on the path. This time, the small creature startled their horse. It bolted, throwing Thomasin hard to the ground. The dog chased after the rabbit, and the eldest son followed, leaving the siblings separated. As night fell, the boy found himself lost deep in the forest. To keep his courage, he recited Bible verses aloud. Eventually, he stumbled upon the lifeless body of their sheepdog. A little further ahead, he discovered a strange small cottage standing alone in the woods. From the small cottage, a woman in a red cloak appeared. She was stunning and alluring, slowly walking toward the boy. Mesmerized, the eldest son couldn't resist her charm and fell helplessly into her embrace. Meanwhile, Thomasin woke up after being knocked unconscious. The family had been searching for both missing children for a whole day, and the father had already gone into the forest to look for them. Fortunately, Thomasin reunited with him, but returning home at that time was far from comforting. As soon as they arrived, her mother bombarded her with questions. Because the hunting trip and the trap were secrets, and now the prey was gone, Thomasin couldn't explain herself right away. Under her mother's harsh interrogation, the father finally confessed about the silver cup. This only fueled the mother's anger, and she lashed out at him bitterly. But with their eldest son still missing, her anger soon turned into deep worry. Heavy rain poured outside that night. Thomasin, feeling suffocated by the tense atmosphere inside, volunteered to check on the sheep. Perhaps feeling guilty for wrongly accusing her earlier, the mother gently kissed her forehead and told her to return quickly. This rare moment of affection brought a faint smile to Thomasin's face. At the sheep pen, she heard strange noises. Stepping out to check, she was shocked to find her lost brother had returned, completely naked and weak. He collapsed instantly, but at least he was alive. The family rushed to care for him. Believing his fever was severe, the mother cut his temple for a bloodletting treatment. Back in medieval Europe, bloodletting was a common practice. People thought it removed toxins. One doctor even claimed it could clear the mind, improve memory, reduce swelling, help digestion, ease anxiety, nourish the body, and prolong life. They might as well have called it a cure for everything. But in truth, such beliefs often delayed proper treatment. The next day, Thomasin was milking the goats when she overheard her little sister whispering to the black goat again. The girl claimed the goat told her that Thomasin had placed a demon inside their brother, making him sick. The hatred toward their eldest sister was becoming stronger. Thomasin couldn't defend herself and kept milking. But suddenly, the goat's milk turned into blood, a dark sign of something evil at work. Inside, the mother sat by her son's bedside, praying nonstop. She believed he was bewitched, while the father insisted he was just ill and planned to take him to a doctor at the plantation. He also spoke of selling the corn and goats and finding a good family for Thomasin. Hearing this, the mother broke down again, but this time opened her heart. She confessed she missed their home in England. Since the baby's death, she felt empty, abandoned by God, and only wished for the family to stay together. Though she poured out her sorrow, the father still held onto his faith. But before they could leave, screams suddenly came from the house. The eldest son had woken up, but his body convulsed violently. He vomited, and strange prayers spilled from his lips. Suddenly, his throat seemed blocked by something. The father forced his mouth open and shockingly pulled out an apple. But where had it come from? The twins instantly pointed at Thomasin, accusing her of witchcraft. They told their parents how she had threatened them before and about the goat's bloody milk. The parents were shaken and unsure. The father said there was only one way to know the truth, through prayer. The family gathered around the boy to pray. But then, the twins claimed they couldn't remember their prayers anymore. Before they could process this, the eldest son spoke again. The eldest son's face twisted in pain as he muttered over and over, "He's coming to get me." Suddenly, the twins also began writhing and screaming as if some unseen force was tormenting them. The father, mother, and Thomasin fell to their knees and prayed desperately. Then, just as abruptly, the eldest son went still. In the next moment, a smile spread across his face. He began reciting prayers with a calm, almost blissful tone. Stretching his arms wide, he slowly sat up and whispered, "My God, my love, take me away." And with that, he breathed his last. The mother's first reaction was to shove Thomasin aside, her grief instantly turning to blame. Overwhelmed, Thomasin fled the house, with her father following behind. At first, he tried to comfort her, but his words quickly turned into demands. He urged her to confess, insisting that if she told the truth, everything would end. It was clear he, too, now believed Thomasin was a witch. The twins couldn't pray. The eldest son had died under mysterious possession. He was convinced she was the cause of it all. No matter how Thomasin tried to explain, her words carried no weight. Disappointed and furious, she lashed back at him, calling out his failures, his poor harvests, his failed hunts, secretly selling her mother's silver cup, and even the talk of selling her off for food. She cursed his hypocrisy, shouting that she was always the one blamed for his mistakes. Stung by her words, the father's temper flared. He struck her and dragged her toward the house, demanding she confess everything to her mother. But the mother, lost in her sorrow over her dead son, didn't care who was to blame anymore. Frustrated, the father locked all three children, Thomasin and the twins, in the sheep pen together. He and the mother then buried the eldest son as night fell. In the yard, the mother prayed and wept, regretting ever leaving the plantation and begging God to save her remaining children. But no divine help came. In the sheep pen, the twins huddled together while Thomasin lay apart, exhausted. As the night deepened, the twins heard strange noises in the corner. When they looked closer, they were horrified to see an old, hideous witch drinking milk straight from the goat. The witch turned toward them with a chilling laugh, sealing their grim fate. Thomasin, still in deep sleep, didn't stir despite their terrified cries. Whether the screams were real or born of dark hallucinations, no one could say. Meanwhile, inside the house, the mother too was seeing things. The spirits of her two lost children, the baby and the eldest son, appear before her. Overjoyed, she embraced them and cradled the baby to nurse him. The eldest son spoke softly, saying he brought her a book and would visit often. In reality, there were no children. Only a raven perched on her chest, pecking and tearing at her flesh as blood soaked her clothes. At dawn, the father was the first awake. Stepping outside, he found a sheep pen torn apart, the sheep slaughtered, the twins missing, and Thomasin lying on the ground, slowly regaining consciousness. As he struggled to make sense of the carnage, the black goat suddenly lunged at him, ramming his stomach with brutal force. He staggered, trying to fight back, but the goat charged again, sending him crashing into the towering woodpile he had built over the years. It collapsed, crushing him beneath it. The very woodpile he often chopped to ease his doubts, and anger became his grave. Hearing the commotion, Thomasin rushed over, only to see her father's lifeless body. Her mother arrived moments later, and from her perspective, it looked as though Thomasin had killed him. Enraged, the mother screamed, calling her a witch, blaming every tragedy on her. She lunged, strangling Thomasin with wild fury. In a desperate act of survival, Thomasin grabbed a hatchet from the ground and struck. When the struggle ended, her mother lay dead. Of the family of 7, only Thomasin remained. Everything had unfolded in just one short week. She quietly walked back to the house, removed her blood-stained clothes, and collapsed on the table in exhaustion. When she woke again, night had already fallen. Bells echoed from outside. Thomasin followed the sound and saw the black goat waiting for her. They say the devil hides in black goats. Cautiously, she asked it, "What do you want?" A deep, tempting voice replied. The male voice promised he could give her all the beauty and pleasure she wished for if she signed the contract he offered. She had lost everything. With little hesitation, Thomasin undressed and surrendered herself to the devil. Guided by its voice, she walked into the depths of the forest. There, she heard distant chants. Several naked women, witches like her, danced wildly around a bonfire. Then they began to rise into the air. Thomasin, too, floated upward, laughing uncontrollably as she joined them in the night sky.